Anytime, Wes.
We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, or hang out in hotel bars, driving somewhere in your car. We can sleep under the stars, we can sleep under the stars, under the stars. Take my hand, and we don't need to do the things we don't want to do. that we're in, but I'm your liability. I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my liability. Oh, what a hopeless case we could be. Yeah. Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in, but I'm your liability.
Come take my hand, I will walk with you. I won't let go till you say so. There isn't anything I wouldn't do. Wanna make sure that you understand. You're the one who gives my life color. There's no another. With your hand in mine, let me go by your side. Let me go by your side. I wanna stay in your sunlight. I wanna wake up with you by my side. Without you there is no tomorrow. We could be in for the best ride. Want this to last for the rest of our lives. Without you there is no tomorrow. Sometimes I wonder where you came from. You are special, yeah, you're special. Everything about you is so beautiful. I am all yours if you let me stay. You're the one who gives my life color. There is no another. With your hand in mine, let me go by your side. Let me go by your side. Stay in your sunlight. I wanna wake up with you by my side. Without you there is no tomorrow. We could be in for the best ride. Want this to last for the rest of our lives. Without you there is no tomorrow.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. This show is going to be very interesting today. We are going to cover a couple of very important topics. One out of Beijing, as you know, the possible second wave is approaching. And number two topic of today is Huawei with Meng Wanzhou, who, as you know, December 1st, traveling to Mexico via Vancouver, was arrested at the airport in Vancouver International Airport on December 1st at 11:55 a.m. So I'm going to bring the full panel on today, and we're going to get right into it right off the start. And I'm going to introduce the other three people that are part of this program this morning. And they are Matt from JaYoe Nations, Jerry from This Is China, and Lee from the Barrett channel. And of course, coming in a little bit later is Alex Absolute. So let's go to the full panel if we can. Wesley, if you could take us to the full panel, if that is possible. There we are. Matt, I'm going to go to you right off the bat here because we got a lot to cover today. So there'll be no messing around, but just saying hello to everybody who is joining us. Remember that we are streaming from 4 or 5 channels here at one time. That means if you see chitter chatter going across the boards or messages that are popped up on the screen above, that means they could be coming from the channel you're watching or everyone else's. So the best thing I can suggest is subscribe to all the channels below. And if you want your question immediately answered, you hit that little super chat button, and any donation is greatly appreciated, as everybody I know in this panel pretty much puts every dime back into their channel. So, right, okay, to it. So let's go, Matt. We saw some interesting news coming out of Beijing this week. I think you're well aware of this because you actually were communicating with a lot of the people on the panel what was going on, and maybe you could share with us your thoughts on the Beijing situation. Oh, have we got a mute on, guys? We'll start it over again. Yeah, just unmute. No problem, Matt.
I'm good. I'm here.
We go.
I'm here.
All right.
I heard everything you said. Just didn't hear anything I said. Yeah, quite interesting because for you know, everything that's happening is sort of expected. So we knew that the virus was going to resurge. It's part of the reason why China closed down in the first place so much, so that we would be prepared and well equipped for when the virus raised its ugly head yet again. So if you watch my last video on my channel, me and my family are cycling. I put that word in everything. I should be cycling. Driving to Disneyland because we wanted to go see Shanghai Disneyland, and the virus had kind of not done anything. We planned this a couple of weeks ago, and we said, hey, we should go and see what life is like in Shanghai Disneyland. On our way, like a day before, the Beijing thing was sort of a question, and then on the drive there, my wife is getting all these a lot of interesting propaganda in her phone and information regarding the virus outbreak. And she turned to me and she said, Matt, what are we going to do? It's coming back. And I said, well, it's kind of a good thing that we know this. It's sort of a privilege that we, as one of these countries that have gotten the virus under control, have. Because if 40 cases popped up in New York, in the United States or somewhere, it would simply be a number to add to the tally. You know what I mean? And so knowing that we have an outbreak in Beijing gives us the opportunity to try to, I kind of refer to it as whack-a-mole. You're just kind of like hitting these things. The strange thing about Beijing is that it came in a form that taught us more about the virus that we didn't necessarily know. And it reveals that we know very little about this virus. And it also reveals that the less we can keep this virus from replicating, the better, because the more it replicates, the more it can mutate. The more it can mutate, the more potential it can get worse, and the less we can defend against one mutation to another. Because if we develop and work and spend billions of dollars developing a vaccine against strain A, by the time strain D comes out, it's like, to the vaccine, right. And there's nothing that we can do about it. So it's one of the reasons why this whole herd immunity thing is a scary concept, because if you just let the virus go rampant, you're opening up the possibility for this virus to evolve into something that we can't control. And that's how it sort of scares me. Anyways, I have a lot. I could talk about this a lot, but I don't want to steal.
Yeah, Matt, while you're on the screen here, what's the feeling here in where you are? I mean, are people like, here we go again, or are they like, oh, like what precautions are they taking? Are we seeing, tracing ramp up a bit, or?
There's I talked to we've been doing import export, and my wife has been doing some mask business. So we actually have a bunch of samples, like we have boxes of masks. So we have zero need for any more masks. But I asked her, I says, how are masks doing? Are people kind of doing a run on masks? She says, yeah. She says the price of masks has kind of gone up. People are starting to gouge. I mean, it's profit motive, right? I mean, people everywhere are doing the same thing, and you got to stomp those things out. But China is, China has a switch now. They designed the switch during Wuhan and during the first outbreak. And so all they got to do, that switch is kind of slowly, it's a dimmer, maybe not an on-off switch, it's a dimmer switch. Right. So it's kind of gone dim, but now they're just ratcheting it up again. And it's the same switch, so they know exactly what to do. It's what you should have been doing during lockdown in the first place, is building this switch. And it's what some of these, I don't want to dog on the West all the time, but it seems like there are, those switches still have wires that need to be connected, and the drywall around the hole is a little bit rough, and so that switch is not quite there. And in China it is. So people are like, they know what to do. They're like, let's do it again, and let's stomp this thing out. It's just scary that it arrived in, everybody's scared that it arrived in Beijing. They're like, this is the capital. This is where we should have the most control, and it coming in here is pretty scary. So, but people are nervous.
Last question to you, basically. Do you and I, just before we came on the show today, we were speaking about the CDC and China announces a little bit virus tracing discovery from the Xinfadi market.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bit, a little bit loosey-goosey announcement, but I mean, as we get more deeper into it, I mean, is this where they feel the second kind of thing has outbroken? Have they nailed this down yet?
There's a lot of supposition in that article. Alex, I don't know if you can share that article. That would be interesting. It's an interesting article.
I'll try to pull it up while you talk.
It's the China CDC, and it's these China scientists. I'd like to see some more evidence. I mean, it just happened, so it needs some more time. But the scary thing that happened is that it came in theoretically through cold storage salmon from Europe. And if that is true, then it means that the virus can exist on cold surfaces much longer than we thought. And it has huge implications because, I mean, China is supplied by, they love their foreign foods and foreign meats that come in. You might think everybody's kind of have these dead rats and dead armadillos and stuff hanging from racks and everywhere, but they're quite sophisticated in a lot of their diet. And they, salmon, we have salmon here at the house all the time. And if it comes in on cold storage salmon, it means that it means a whole bunch of implications on the logistics of how food is transported across the nation and across the world. If this is true, and we learn this, it's great because we know more about the virus, but it also means that we need to adapt. Every country needs to adapt how they do food service, because it could be a huge deal. And this virus came into China from the outside, from Europe, and it was a mutated strain that hadn't been in China. And there was a lot of people here that are like, oh shit, we really know how to do this, conquer the strain that we had been focused on. This is another thing that I've been hearing. And if this virus comes in from Europe and it hasn't been here yet, we're going to have to relearn how to defend against this strain as opposed to the first.
This is troubling, a little bit troubling to me. Jerry,
that highlighted thing is crazy, right? But that's a supposition too,
Yeah, I mean, it's, where do we go from here? I just don't know. Jerry, or Lee, I'm going to go over to you. Lee, you got something to share on this? We'll just unmute you there, Lee. Lee,
you're silent, Lee. Mike.
Unmute. Okay.
There we go.
Okay,
right.
Thanks. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
Okay, so first thing, I'd like to say thank you to Nini for the super sticker. Appreciate that. Now, I've had 2 super chats in from Trevor Norman. The first one we'll address a little later in the program because it's regarding the Meng Wanzhou. But the first one, he says, how come Beijing can test more in 1 week than the UK can in 2 months? I think the answer to that is because they are really, really on top of the situation. Now, I put this in a video I did yesterday. Beijing managed to test 350,000 people around the area of that market in a period of 5 days. Now, that is, pretty some going, anyone's measure, that is a lot of people in a very short space of time. It's sort of 70,000 people a day. And I think it's probably unlikely that there's many other countries even have the capacity to do that. But I think why is they learned a big lesson from Wuhan, that if you don't get onto it really quickly. Now, I understand they couldn't get onto it as quickly in Wuhan because at that time it was new. They didn't know what they were dealing with. But now, to a certain extent, they know what they're dealing with, and they're very, very prepared. And there was a report came out of one of the Chinese ministries last week that was saying that literally the length and breadth of China, they are setting up sort of all this infrastructure because they realize that this is not just going to go away. They just by the nature of it, and like Matt was saying, there's different strains. So a vaccine may not be the answer here. It might help, but it's not going to possibly completely eradicate this. So the Chinese government are purchasing a huge amount of equipment and tests so they can set up all these centers, in cities, in rural areas, countrywide. So as soon as they see the first pocket of anything reoccurring, they can jump on it, and they're really on it. I think to date they've shut down 34 districts in Beijing, and they're probably getting on. The first 5 days they tested 350,000. So I would imagine they're probably close to 500,000. Within a few days they'd identified that there'd been just over 1,000 people at that market who had traveled to other provinces. And they've already traced a majority of those people and either isolated them or quarantined them and tested them. So, it just shows you how aware they are of the situation, how actually on top of things they are. And like Matt was saying, it's actually good that they found these. And I think one of the problems they said they had was that the initial batch of sort of 40 or 50 people they tested were asymptomatic cases. And there was some talk that actually it may have been here, or the Beijing cluster may have been developing for longer than the first week. The suggestions that it could have been there for sort of 3 or 4 weeks, but simply because most of the cases are asymptomatic. I just really want to sort of get the point across how Chinese authorities really are on top of it here. And I think we were talking the other day, Matt, and you were saying 50 cases have popped up in Beijing, and it's quite a big thing. Whereas if those 50 cases popped up in another country, it'd be it's just
Tuesday.
Another 50 cases. It's just another 50 in the thousands that are already there. And I think this is a big distinction. It's a big thing here that they found 50 cases, and they're right on it. So yeah, that's my input.
Okay, well, thank you on that, Lee. And Jerry, we're going to go to you. Jerry, has much happened in your area of China in regards to this? Has there been more of a precautionary things ramped up, or have they ever really taken their guard down there?
Okay, yeah, I got you. First of all, I want to say hello to everyone. Thanks for the panel having me. I see there's a Leon Mackham in one of your chats. He says, I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. Well, go ahead, buddy, and subscribe to everyone. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, guys, hello, Jerry here. So I'm going to answer Alex's question. But first, I want to say I do agree with Matt and also with Lee, what he just said. I believe the only thing that can kill this virus is the virus itself. There's no vaccine that's going to fix this thing. The virus must completely decide, okay, I'm going to leave the human beings alone for God's sake, and he will leave us alone. So there's nothing we can do to stop this goddamn thing. But if it gets to China, I can tell you guys that I'm seriously safe staying, or feeling safe staying in this country rather. And I just want to make this point. When the virus came out a few months back, the first time they discovered it, it was in China, right? So it's the Chinese that discovered it with their super cool systems. Yet, and again, they did it in Beijing, That's why I feel safe here. These guys, they got it. They know how to handle this. They know how to control this. They know how to keep their citizens safe. But I'm going to go with Lee on this one. There's no vaccine that's going to kill this goddamn thing. But yeah, man, China is is pretty safe, and I feel pretty awesome being part of this country, where they control this virus, unlike other countries that's going through serious trouble. And then to get to your answer, Alex, my city actually calmed down, if you will, regarding the temperature checks and all of that, but they never left that green QR code system alone. From the first the first wave, if we call it the first wave.
What is that called, Jerry, when you're saying the green? For some viewers that are, just
health
coming
code,
in,
right?
Right.
Yeah,
So what
yeah,
does that mean? I just want you to. I want to kind of educate the people that are watching to understand what precautions and what steps Asia takes. Because
Right.
I spoke to my brother-in-law the other day, and I said, is there any tracing programs? And he says no. Other countries would be, very offended by some programs like that because
Exactly.
So do you have your phone available or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Maybe you can show me what. So can you explain how
So-
this works now?
Yeah, cool. So if you guys look at this is a green QR code. So this thing, like Lee said, it's a health code. You need to scan this wherever you go. Like if you go buy groceries in the mall, you need to show this by the door of the mall. So they won't allow you in if you don't have this green QR code. Now, what this means is you've been cleared by officials that you 100% do not carry the virus. So you are basically free to walk among people, essentially. But you also need this if you go onto subways or anywhere you go. This is what got me into trouble on the first wave when I went to Xi'an during the pandemic, and my QR code turned red over there in Xi'an.
Boy. Okay.
Because I'm actually from Qingdao, right? And I literally they locked me outside. The police also said, hey, you need to sleep on the street, buddy, till you sort yourself out, because you're not allowed to travel during this time. It was my own stupidity, right? But I'm just trying to get at I'm just trying to get out. That's how serious these guys are with their systems. They don't care. There's no white privilege nonsense. My QR code it was red, and they told me, "Sorry, dude, you need to sort yourself." And
I mean that's very interesting. And Jerry, I got to tell you something. You sound absolutely fantastic today. What changed? Did you get a new mic?
actually, I drank some whiskey last night.
Guys,
Thanks for that one. Yeah.
You
I
sound
do
great.
got a
I'm
new
gonna
buddy.
move over to.
I just
Yeah,
want
go
just
ahead, Lee.
1 second, Alex. I just want to add to the health code. So as Jerry mentioned, it shows you haven't got the virus, but it will also turn that it has 3 states. So it has a green, which means you're 100% okay. It has a red, which means you've been to a high risk area, but it
Right.
also has I think an orange, where if you've been close to somebody who's in quarantine. So this will change status. So if the system detects, if they pull somebody and they're tested positive, if you have been close to that person, like maybe in the same carriage on the metro or in the same shopping mall, it will alert you that, all the authorities, and your code will change orange or red. So it's not necessarily, you don't have to have the virus. It means you've been by somebody, and then you can take action based on that. So, if your code turns orange, you might, need to go to the clinic, and they will test you. So it's a really, really good system. And one thing I would say is, I know the UK have started opening things back up. And they've started opening things back up when they haven't even got their contact tracing system fully implemented. So to me, that's just a recipe for disaster. But I think, like Alex has alluded to it in the past, that you can't keep an economy in lockdown forever. It's just not
a balance.
possible. Absolutely. Here in China, people financially are much more prepared for this kind of thing because it's a nation of savers. But like in the UK, people literally have got enough money to last them 2 or 3 weeks, a majority of people. So if they can't work, they start running into real big problems. Now, the government stepped in and are paying a lot of these workers 80% of their salary. But still, there's a lot that are not getting that. And so they're desperate to work because literally they've just got no money. So this is a real dilemma going on here.
Well,
one quick thing about the QR code, just to fill it in so people understand. Every time you go to a mall, it's not like the QR code stays on your phone all the time, or you take a picture of the QR code. The QR code changes constantly. It might not change color, hopefully, but it always changes location. So like if you go to a mall, they'll say, pull up your code. And then when you pull up your code, it marks you where you are. So that's one of the great things, great, but big brotherish things that
trade-offs,
in this
yeah,
case,
trade-offs.
in this case really helps because they know all the people that have done that. So if somebody comes through with a red code or comes through and then coughs, finds out you have because it's not like you're pin pricking the phone, so they can only know that somebody is sick when they actually say, hey, I'm sick. But as soon as they do that, they can backtrace and say, where did that person intersect all of these other people? That's one of the reasons why contact tracing is so powerful using this app here in China. I know that some people didn't know that.
The problem, with this in the West is that people, the public site, invasion of privacy. Now, personally, I'd be very prepared to sacrifice that small amount of privacy to save my life. But it seems some in the West don't seem to see it that way.
Yeah, we are not in the land of the free, apparently, the land of the freedom to give other people viruses,
Very interesting.
Thanks guys for sharing that. Simon Barnes, thank you very much for your super chat contribution. Still testing my students' temperature 3 times a day. Also need the entire family's QR code sent to their teachers before school, or they can't come. Cool.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
just going to show you guys.
Are doing that.
There was a question on other countries doing it. This is what the app actually looks like in Thailand, and it of course does have some sort of facial recognition to it. With a scanned QR code, tells me the locations I visited, how long I was in the locations, and what it will do. This app is if something has happened or somebody tests positive. And they will know, okay, they were at H&M at 2 p.m. Saturday, June, whatever. You will be notified on your phone immediately. And that also gives you an attempt to kind of say, wait a minute, how do I feel? Is my temperature fine? Do I want to go to the hospital to get checked out? These things are, I can understand how other nations might feel that this is, maybe stepping on their freedom, but if you don't want the app, don't install the app, don't bring the phone with you, and that's just it.
Is that app from Line? Because I know in Thailand you guys use Line, right?
We use Line. We also have a very large WeChat population here also. In Thailand, just so you know, and I know the panel know this, and why I keep talking about Thailand is I got caught on the outside. And as I was going to be heading back to China after I got to Chongqing, I thought I would come back here for a month or two and visit in Thailand and then get back to China. But as you know, just like everybody else, things have changed rapidly. So I'm on the outside looking in. But I can tell you, though, and for the panel that says, and for the people that are watching today, if you feel that these apps may be infringing some of your rights, I'm going to say something, and I'll try to be as clear as possible here. Thailand has the most tourists from China in the world, 4 times the amount of the United States. I've said it many times in this program. We get anywhere from 12 to 14 million Chinese people visit Thailand every year, where the U.S. gets 2.8 million to 3 million a year. And Thailand's numbers, 60 deaths and about 3,500 infections.
Yeah, I don't hear Thailand shouting at China that it's their fault either, which is quite interesting,
Well, there's an attitude here, Lee, that, and I think, with all Asian nations here, it's kind of like, you know what, we got to get through this. There's plenty of time for blaming people. There's plenty of time to, look back. How did this start? Where did it start? What started it? I mean, it was weird because when this was happening, we brought, Guelo 60 and Kurt came in from Nanning to visit me. And we were laughing because I was back on my way to go visit him in Nanning in February. And I said, Kurt, this is huge. And he said, well, maybe I'll go to Canada and maybe I won't. And as it was unfolding, we saw, Thailand jump like fast. They said, okay, China is saying we got a problem, we better act on this. And when people say that these timelines, no one told us or we didn't really know, BS. I mean, they call it COVID-19 for a reason, because it was discovered in 2019. And on this panel, we were even talking about it as well. And with many of my friends, I even have videos dating back into January talking about this. So I'm not sure how other nations weren't prepared. Maybe it was denial. Maybe they just didn't want to. Maybe they just thought it would go away. We have another super chat up here on the screen. China just sentenced the 2 Michaels from Canada for possible life sentence for breaking national security. Thoughts? Nini, we're going to get to that because we got quite the second half, and I hope you will stick around for the second half of the show where we are going to go into, guys, details on this Huawei thing. I've spent probably about 20 hours researching this today, so or pardon me, this week. So continuing on with this, this possible second wave. I mean, you guys as the panel, you don't think that we're in trouble here again in China,
Absolutely
in
not.
Asia?
No, not at all. Just even China are dealing with it. They're really on top of this from what I can see. Jerry?
Yeah. Even my wife is kind of calmed down. When the virus broke out, she's like, we're all going to die. The world is going to die. We need to run away. She's like, no, man, no, everything's okay now. After she saw what China did in the first wave, she's like, everything is okay. We are fine. So no, man, I think we are good to rock and roll. Yeah. That's
people.
Lee,
That is, Jen,
that is very important. What Lee is saying there, people are believing it because they saw what the government did. There's no reason for them not to trust the government on a second wave. Not at all.
Yeah, people seem pretty relaxed here in Shenzhen about it.
Sorry, we got that's garbled. I'm going to start with Lee again, and then we'll come back to Matt. Your connection's just a bit fuzzy.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Yeah, I mean, from what I can see here, people I've spoke to in Shenzhen seem pretty relaxed about it because they just have this sort of confidence in the government that they're doing what they need to do to sort it out. Within a day or two, they'd lock down parts of Beijing. They're doing massive amounts of testing and isolation. I think that gives people in the rest of the country a lot of confidence when they can see their government are really acting positively to do something about it.
Matt?
Am I clear? I don't know what's going on with my connection.
Yeah, you're good.
We're all good.
I think that it's okay. Everybody listens to what the government says, but they also listen to each other and as a community band together, and they all stay inside. They all wear masks. Obviously, there are systems in place to ensure that everybody does follow the instructions, but it's also like I was in an argument last night with some people online, and they were like, you gave up your freedom to go to China, and we still have that freedom here in America. And my freedom says I'm not going to wear the damn mask. And people in China, I think they all believe they're pretty damn free, but they also understand the value of wearing the mask. You know what I mean? So I have the freedom not to infect my neighbor too,
Matt, you're an American. So, I mean, when people say that, I mean, there's a division going on there. Some people feel that absolutely as an American, they should be able to do what they want. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that the problem has been messaging, and it's not just Trump. It's the whole damn system. And it's like Fauci, who is our infectious disease representative. He's the dude. In the very beginning of this process, he was saying, you don't really need the masks. The masks aren't that important. And so people got it in their heads that masks aren't that important. And it's coming out now that he's like, no, you need to wear your mask. And they're like, why were you saying we didn't need to wear a mask before? And he said, well, we didn't have enough.
Do you think that was pressure from Trump, though? Do you think that was pressure from the administration on him?
Hey, a fish rots from the head down, But Fauci was the knowledgeable source that people were listening to at the time. And if he's wishy-washy because of whether he's being told to say it by Trump or pressured, I think it's just, I don't know. I'm just trying to have a more, because that was the argument this guy was giving me yesterday was the fact that, that's the CDC is telling us one thing and Fauci tells us another thing, and I'm like, the messaging is totally messed up over in America, and some in some ways I don't fault them, because in China there was no off message. It was
it was all very clear. Yeah,
inside. There was no deviation. There was learning. Okay.
Alex.
Yeah, Matt, can we just fix your mic there? We got a connection issue with your mic. I've just muted you just because it seems to be breaking up. So let me see.
Alex, I want to make a point on what JaYoe Nation.
Go ahead. I'm going to come back to you, Matt. There's still some cracking going on there, but we'll figure it out. Right. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with what Matt is saying there. And actually, I want to add to that. People bash China because China said no investigations going on while we work on the problem regarding the virus, right, on the first wave. And especially Australia made a big hoo-ha about this. I think America sees what China were doing back then, because, you can't get distracted with people flying into your country, come broadcast what is happening here, all that fake news. So you need to, basically kill small fires on the sideline while you need to stay focused to contain a virus, right? That is what China did, and I think that is what Matt also tries to, that's what I want to add on to his conversation is, I think America is too much focused on this one said this, that one said that, and oh my God, this news broadcast this crap, this one broadcast this, so they need to kill the small nonsense fires on the side, and it basically keeps the eye off the ball, essentially. And that is where I want to talk about Australia, because I got a message, or in my room, I got a comment from Australia guy, which is very strange. So by the way, this guy is an Australian guy. Let me just find it. It's here, but it's very strange because this guy really likes China and he lives in China, but he says, ha ha ha, that's laugh. My evil laugh, so by the way. China finally spending money on China instead of buying up all the other countries' land. Well, he says countries, but I'm sure he means land because he's in Australia. That's kind of weird. That's a 180 turn from the guy because I know he likes China. I don't know. Maybe he's just a little bit angry this morning. Just let us know what's happening over there, Australia. But I don't think China is buying up land all over the world. I think that's nonsense. Business is business, my friend. If I have the money and I need a car, I'm not going to give two shits about there's not enough cars for the people in that particular country. I'm going to buy that thing. And that is what China is doing. They are doing business, especially with African countries. I don't think that's a reason people can get angry with China. They are strong. They are growing. It's like the virus. China is like the virus. You can't stop it anymore. They are growing, and they are getting stronger. There's no vaccine to stop China. You can just forget about it.
Well, thank you for that, Jerry. And we're gonna stay on topic here and continue to talk about this Beijing situation, the second wave. Another thing I want to point out that I don't think that this program, it's easy to kind of always revert back to the United States of America since they are a global powerhouse as well. It's other countries that we are also seeing major issues with, the Americas, like, South America, Brazil, Peru started having new spikes. These other nations around the world don't have even the ability to, get their economy. Venezuela was in a mess before this. They're even in a greater mess before that. And oil collapsed while this was going on. So the resources of these other countries are equally worrying as the United States of America. So I want to just kind of shift the focus away from the U.S. now and just focus on other nations' abilities to combat this situation. I'm even seeing in my native country of Canada that for most part it's doing its job the best it can, but here's the bad. Here's the hard side of where this could lead, and I'm gonna head to Lee on this. I mean, we discussed off the program about how much these economies can take, and how. I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, shut it down. We're gonna allow money to come in for people that aren't working, but that is going to have to be paid back. Somebody's going to have to pay that money back.
Absolutely,
coming
yeah.
up here in the next year. So we are seeing casualties here in Asia in regards to businesses. You walk in a mall here. For rent signs, I mean, if you don't know what for rent says in Thailand, you'll know it within the first 50 meters from anywhere you go here. Hotels are absolutely refusing to open. I called one of my favorite hotels the other day and asked them, guys, I hear that the alcohol ban is over in restaurants. When are you guys opening up your hotel bar? And their answer to me was, we are opening when the airport opens. And that, to me, is just wow. I don't know how these hotels, the cruise lines have just suspended leaving from September all the way up to September 15th from the United States. Guys, I mean, let's talk about the economic fallout of even a second wave. We're not even through the first one. Maybe second wave. Anybody want to comment on this?
Okay,
Can I
so
test my microphone? Can you guys
go
hear
ahead,
me
Matt.
okay?
Yeah, we're
this
loud
all
and clear.
good.
Perfect. You're
Everybody,
good, man.
this is the NT-USB from Rode.
Nice, nice.
This is the first time I've used this microphone. I've been using this guy, but we'll see.
Perfect.
We'll see. Okay.
If you can tilt it a little bit forward to you, and then let's
Like
hear it.
this? Is this okay?
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. Awesome. Well
All
done,
right,
man.
cool.
Okay, I'm going to Lee.
Okay, I'm just going to shout out a few people who've given us super stickers. So thank you to Linda L, Eric NG, Dennis D, Simon NG, and Catherine NG. And then I'll just briefly mention this super chat here from Zhengyan Chen. And it was in response to something Jerry said. So there are more US-owned land or properties in Australia than Chinese-owned. Even Japan, I don't see they have a problem with that. And I think, as Jerry says, look, if you've got the money, and at the end of the day, these Australian businesses or business people, they don't have to sell the land to the Chinese if they don't want to. It's their choice. But, I guess somebody offers them the right price, they're going to take it. That, like Jerry says, that's business. One more thing to address just on the masks, and I think there was a big change in messaging in the UK as well. And I think that was definitely down to at the beginning that they just didn't have stock. And I think there was concern that there would be kind of civil unrest if the government had come out and said, look, everybody needs to wear a mask, and that will cut your chance of, say, 50% of contracting the virus. I think there'd have been civil unrest because there was just not anywhere near the amount of stocks. I mean, they were struggling at one point to have enough masks for health workers in the UK, never mind the general public. So I think that's the thing. Moving on to Alex's question about the economy. As I alluded to earlier, China are a nation of savers. A huge amount of what people earn in China, they save. So when a rainy day comes, the reason for that is because China doesn't have these sort of social safety nets like certainly the UK does, unemployment benefit, housing benefit, all these kinds of things. So in China, people save for a rainy day because they never know when they're going to need money for some sort of emergency. And I think that's why they were able to close the economy down. So let's say easier than other countries are managing to do that, because there wasn't this rush for people to have to get back to work to earn money. Of course, there will be some in that situation. But as I say, a majority of the Chinese people will have good savings, and COVID-19 was their rainy day. So back to you, Alex.
Thank you. I mean, my concern is the following. I mean, everyone thinks, well, once the virus is gone or once it goes away, it's business as usual. I mean, watching the financial markets trading where
Not
they are
quite.
now, I mean, serious. I mean, these markets, I'm not here to give financial advice, but, as being a trader for a couple of decades here, this market is so far from reality. It's baffling.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
It is. It's absolutely madness.
So, I was reading a report earlier this week that, yes, it could be a lot of the money coming in from the Fed. Don't fight the Fed. But they say that after each time the Fed gets in there to stimulate the economy, the aftershocks are what bring the house of cards down. And I'm feeling probably around September, October is when this, we'll call it COVID trade, comes out. It's got to come out somewhere. When you see oil going into negative values, they couldn't give away oil about 2 months ago. You see airlines grounded across the world. I think 90% of the fleets that are just sitting on tarmacs around the world. This trade is going to come out, and that, guys, I think is really going to cause some serious damage. I mean, yes, it's terrible that people have died of this, but there is also another side that no one's talking about, and I'm shouting from the rooftop on this. Seriously, this is going to hit really hard. We are seeing a lot of these economies, and currently here, and I keep going back to Thailand because I'm stuck here, is that 30 million people applied for government help here. And what do they receive? They receive about 5,000 baht a month. That's about $180. That's not paying the mortgage. That's not paying the, maybe paying the rent, but then you have to eat. So you see that happen, and you walk down streets, it's going to be massive what's going to happen here. Matt, you want to add something to this?
I just I'm not much into the financial markets. I've tried to be, actually, and I'm like, every time I was like, well, do I take advantage of this? Because there's so many people with so much money taking advantage of all these people suffering, and like, because that's basically what they're doing. I mean, the dip in the market is due to people dying, people being infected, people losing their jobs. And I'm like, do I want to plug into the system? And when I look at it, I'm like, it's one thing if I'm investing in the stock market to like help my fellow man, but it's just so unbalanced that I'm like, all I'm doing is I'm helping a system that it's not reflecting the real world. And I'm like, if I'm investing in this system, am I part of the problem? Because everybody that is so excited about making money in the stock market and everything, I just, everybody that comes to me like this, I'm like, come back to me in 5 or 10 years, like really, let's pick up this conversation later. Cause I gotta believe that when this thing corrects, we are in a lot of trouble, as a global community, and it's scary,
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are just, we got a warm, fuzzy feeling, guys. I mean, I don't want to continue to harp on it, and I don't want to be, no one on this panel as the financial guy either, but I mean, I do trade these markets, and I've traded them for over 20 years, and we have zombie companies trading on the S&P market. Just to let you guys know, last week, Hertz Rent-A-Car, which was in bankruptcy protection, tried to float 500
This is
million.
crazy, man. This is just crazy.
You can add on this, Lee. But they tried to float $500 million of share sales onto the market and flood the market with that. And when you start to see those things, I would say the market's in la land. I'm not going to make any massive predictions, but all I know that any time that something happens, whether it's a country that uses currency to manipulate themselves, you manipulate their currency. If it's oil, I mean, people might say that oil has stabilized. How can oil possibly stabilize right now at even $38 a barrel when 90% of the jets are sitting on tarmacs? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm hoping that we're going to have a fast rebound here. But when you grind economies to an absolute halt, now let's go back and let's use a couple of examples, because that's what most of the forecasters that say in the market, all right, Alex, let's go back and look at a couple of the examples here. Okay, let's go back to 2008, the housing crisis. How long did that trade take to come out? Well, the U.S. market almost dropped 50% that year, and it took about 8 years to rebound after that to finally get things going. It took a lot of people out and a lot of banks out, and we're going to get to that in the second half because it's going to be interesting when we talk about the Huawei situation. So not just the economic fallout from that, but you guys, we can go all back. I think you guys remember, of course, if you're talking in 9/11, 2001, when the terrorist attacks happened in the U.S., in New York, that shut your airports down for about a week. But the economic fallout, just for having your airports closed for a week, was huge. So we're talking countries that still aren't open. I mean, there's no planes leaving where I'm at for the near future, unless you're traveling on business. So, I mean, this, I call it trade, is going to come out somewhere. And, I asked a few agents locally, what's the real estate market doing here? They said, we really don't know because there's really not many transactions happening. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it, and I appreciate you guys giving me the time on the panel on that. Do we have any more that we want to cover on the Beijing second wave stuff before we get in the juice? Lee, I'm going to you. Yeah.
I just want to make a couple of comments about the economic thing. I think the first one, I just want to pick up on that Hertz thing. It's like they're in Chapter 11, and they're trying to do a float of bonds on the market. And what I heard about that is they were trying to get retail investors in because they think retail investors are not as smart. And, the consensus was that the likelihood those bonds will be worth pretty much zero. It's just almost a fraud. And the second thing I want to say is I think that what will happen is the US are in a fairly lucky position that the dollar is currently the sort of world reserve currency. So they can pretty much go ahead and almost print as much as they want, without it affecting them hugely initially. But like you said, Alex, at some point that will work its way through the system. Now, if in the next 2 or 3 years, the sort of dollar starts to lose its sort of dominance, America are going to be really in deep trouble because, they've got to pay all that money back at some point. Either that or they devalue the currency, which then will have a massive hit on the consumer because that'll feed through to inflation. So it is a huge problem, I think,
So just wanted, and thank you for covering that, Lee. And then just want to answer a question on the screen. Also, thank you for everybody. If you could give us a thumbs up, that helps the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe to all our channels below. They're in the links in the description box below. And subscribe. What did I say?
Give us a thumbs up on the stream as well, please.
So here's a question that comes up on the panel. Alex, I have a question. Why you always talk about the U.S., but you're from Canada? Do you love us more than your own country? The reason why I bring up U.S. is most of the time when it comes to the financial markets, they are the leader in the world for financial markets. So it's kind of hard. I'm not sure if the panel wants to hear me talk about the Toronto Stock Exchange or the Canadian Venture Exchange. We can cover that. But about love, this is interesting because some people say when I'm talking about China, I'm pro-China, anti-America. But then when I talk about America, I'm pro-America, anti-Canada. And then when I talk about Thailand, I'm anti-China. So maybe I'll just head to the Maldives for a while and be pro-Maldives for a while here. All right, so let's have a look here. I'm going to go to Jerry. Jerry, before we go on to the Meng stuff and Huawei, do you want to say anything about this situation here?
Well, everyone just stay focused, follow the government. If you're in China, if you're listening from inside China, do not worry, do not fear. Everything will be okay. And I want to tell the world, you guys are goddamn lucky that China found this virus, the second wave cases once again first for you guys to prepare. You've got a second chance. Copy and paste what China is doing. Talk to your leaders. You guys will be safe.
Well, thank you for that, Jerry. So we're going to get on to the second part of our program here.
Sorry. And then I just want to say to everyone in my chat, because I've been in Lee's room most of the times, but I just want to say, I just want to say thank you to everyone that sends that lovely stickers. You know, they call it a super sticker. So what that is, I don't know. You just choose a sticker and you send it to me. I don't know for what stupid reason, but you can pay. You send money with it, so it's kind of cool. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's sending me those beautiful stickers. I don't know. It says tired with coffee on. So I think you guys are talking about my eyes. Yeah, last night I had a very long night. So so thank you for that stickers, guys. I will be just fine. Thanks so much.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, please, Matt.
There's a discussion going on in my chat, and I've seen it a lot, and it's the whole idea of if you wear your mask, well, you can't get the oxygen that you need to survive. Or if you have the mask, listen, it's serious. If you have the mask, you're breathing more CO2. Now, listen, you have a certain amount of air that is trapped in your trachea. This air does not really get exchanged. So when you exit, that air comes out of your mouth and then you breathe in. The volume that is kept within your mask, from the mask to your lips, okay, you might have an argument there, but this argument just drives me. Am I crazy to think that is a crazy argument? But I see it all the time, that the amount of air that I even heard a scientist, a teacher. He says, I'm a science teacher. I shared this clip with you guys a while back. He says, I'm a science teacher, and we need oxygen to survive. And if we have this mask, we are not breathing as much oxygen. It just, of course, you're breathing the same. It's just you have a layer between the outside world and the inside world. I'm just ranting. It just
no. It
doesn't make sense to me.
I always say this. These are surgical masks, right? That we are wearing these days. Doctors are using this to do brain operations, which take like 24 hours, and they use these face masks. Don't you think the stupidity of humanity? Now they think, okay, we are gonna die because we breathe our own. What do you call that? I'm no doctor. They believe they're gonna die from it. But you idiots out there, just think about this. Doctors use this on brain surgeries, on lung surgeries, replacement of hearts. They use these masks. There will be no reason a doctor will use it, and I just think it's stupid. So I'm going to go with Matt.
I climbed Everest a few years ago, more than a few years ago. And in training, some of the things that people did is they put a mask on their face to restrict the flow of oxygen so that you could get used to the higher altitude. And you know what people did that for? To increase heart strength, to increase lung capacity. In some ways, I might argue that a mask is making you healthier beyond even the virus. It's something that's helping you work your body. I don't know. It's just sorry out there in the conversation. I'm not trying to dog on you. It's just I've heard this a bunch of times, and it's got me perplexed.
Well, thank you very much, guys. I think we're going to bring somebody else into the program if he's ready. And Jerry, do you want to stick around for a bit?
No. I will go. I think it's Alex Absolute coming on. So now it's going to be a fiery conversation. I will go to Lee Barrett's channel. I will be on all your channels.
Thank you, Jerry.
We're also going to leave your channel up streaming too, Jerry. Okay? So you
no
cool
problem.
With that?
And yeah, I'm cool. I just want to say bye to everyone. Bye to the panel. And I had my last $4 super chat that came in while I was on the screen. Thank you so much, Simon. Nice. What the hell's your name? Simon NG. Thank you so much. So, guys, I'm out. The real conversation starts now. Subscribe.
Take care, man.
See you, Jerry. Wesley, you could just pull Jerry off, but not off of the program.
Pull Jerry off?
Alex.
Ooh. Morning.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Good, very good. So welcome to the second part of the program here where we get right into it. We are talking about the Huawei situation that has really, I would say, taken the media by storm in North America and over here in Asia. Now, of course, it doesn't get the headlines that we feel it should. I think it's a disgrace of what's happened here. And I think Lee and I are really going to kick it off here. So what I've done last night is I've actually gone to the district court in the United States and pulled off the 24-page document, the indictment against Meng at Huawei. I spent the better part of 2.5 hours reading this detailed for detailed, and I'm going to tell you something. Everybody can printed on their computer. I was hesitant to put a link on YouTube because you never know what they feel about linking this type of information, but you can get it. It's publicly accessed. This is the biggest 24 pages of trash of any indictment that I've ever read in 20 years, okay? I read a lot of documents because of companies. I always follow 8Ks, 10Ks when it comes to quarterly reports on financial statements from the Security and Exchange Commission all the way to, the indictments of Meng from Huawei. 24 pages. This article, okay, it basically goes into detail. She's charged, or they're wanting to charge her on 14 counts. Everything from bank fraud to wire fraud and to count 7, conspiracy to defraud the United States. Now, I challenge anybody to read this 24-page document and someone tell me who financially got hurt from this, okay? There is not one single mention in this 24-page document about when they use the terms wire fraud, bank fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to violate the IEEPA. 14, okay? All goes on about her in this. Doesn't give any financial information. Doesn't say how the crime happened. It's going based on a PowerPoint presentation. Yes, it's here on a PowerPoint presentation from the HSBC Bank. And it's saying that HSBC felt that they were violated, but the HSBC, which is quite a sizable bank in the world here, if the HSBC was ripped off, you would think they would probably sue their client, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Not one single mention in this 24-page indictment about it. There's nothing in here. A case of this size to extradite somebody to the United States of America is this, guys. 24 pages of what? And I'm furious about this because this is quite serious. This, and for all the Americans watching today, I'm just going to give you a bit of example. This is like somebody taking Bill Gates' daughter off an airplane on her way to a vacation somewhere in Asia, but pulling her off an airplane on I'll throw it out there, on a indictment from Russia. I don't think that would go over very well. And that is pretty much the equivalent. So here's where we are. Lee, I'm going over to you on this one because I got a hell of a lot more stuff to cover on this.
Yeah, so okay, there's a number of things here. So the main thrust of the indictment is that she committed on behalf of Huawei, which is again another strange thing because why aren't the Americans or HSBC suing Huawei, not a personal? In all the banking sort of meltdown in 2008, no one was personally brought to task about that. It was a corporate level thing. So that's the first thing. But this all stems around that. According to the US, Meng Wanzhou did not inform HSBC that they were dealing with a company. I think the company was named Skycom in Iran because under US sanctions, countries were not supposed to deal with Iran. And it just so happens that the PowerPoint you were talking about, according to Meng Wanzhou's lawyers, that was part of the PowerPoint presentation that the HSBC were quite clearly made aware that Huawei were dealing with this Skycom in Iran. But it seems very strange that that particular slide with that information on is not in the PowerPoint evidence that the US used to get Canada to arrest her. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, which is really, really strange. Now, bear in mind, Huawei was one of HSBC's largest corporate customers at the time. Apparently, the US is suggesting that only junior members of HSBC knew what was going on with the Huawei loans and that. They also falsely claimed that HSBC had extended a loan of up to $900 million to Huawei. And again, that is in fact not true. The documents that were presented to the court, although heavily redacted, suggest that HSBC's share of the loan was only $80 million. And I have the correct information here. The total loan amount was $1.6 billion, and it was a consortium of 26 banks that raised that finance for Huawei, of which, as I've just said, HSBC contributed $80 million. So it seems as though there's a lot of holes in the evidence. And what I find amazing is that Canada's sort of equivalent to the FBI, I believe, it's CSIS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were well aware, or they felt that there was going to be a huge issue with this arrest because they felt it was a very political issue. What I don't understand is if they thought it like this, why didn't they sort of scrutinize a little bit more the evidence that the FBI had given them before making the arrest? Because I think they're going to, potentially end up with a lot of egg on their face. And something very interesting I just want to bring up before I finish is that the president of the US made a comment that he will intervene if he thinks it will help America get a better trade deal, and he feels that he can do whatever he likes with the Meng Wanzhou case if he feels it will help their case. And the last thing I want to talk about is, interestingly, in the last couple of days, shortly after she was arrested, the Chinese authorities arrested a couple of Canadians. One was a diplomat, Michael Coving, and there was another business guy named Michael Spaver. And it was widely thought that this was in retaliation to Meng's Wanzhou's arrest. But it now turns out that the Chinese are claiming that they have a stack of evidence against these two for, espionage, spying in China. So that will be quite interesting to see how that plays out. But it seems to me that, the US, in doing what they've done, have either missed a lot of information or deliberately left information out of their evidence. So I think it will be very interesting to see how this progresses in the courts over the next couple of months.
Well, I'm going to just take over on this, Lee. You mentioned her arrest, and I'm going to run through for the viewers out here how this arrest actually went down. Now, going to kind of recite a little bit of the U.S. here, due process, and so on and so forth. But this gets very bizarre. So I've given you the 24-page document that you can read. It's a bunch of trash. You should save trees and actually not print it because it's not even worth reading. Normally, these things on such a serious indictment are probably well over 1,000 pages. And I'm being quite generous with it by saying it's 24 pages. It's actually one's a back cover page of all the officers and all the agents and everybody involved there. And the front one is basically of the indictment itself. So it's quite a joke, to be honest with you. And a lot of this is stemming around this Iranian transaction sanction regulation. That's what they're trying to pull up. So I'm just going to file that into the garbage for the moment. And I'm going to get to the second part on how the Canadians handle this. And this is an absolute disgrace, okay? A lady flies to Canada on her way to the United States. Now, this is how the rule of law should go. After hearing the comments from her lawyers. When you are brought into a country, you're either denied access or you're allowed access. Now, that is up to the Border Patrol agents. As if I'm going to the United States, and if the people that are working in security at the United States don't want me in, they basically tell me to turn around my car and head back, or I get denied into the country. Well, what did the Canadians do here? The Canadian Border and Security Patrol, I think they're called the, let me just get the exact name for you guys in a moment.
Is
here.
It the RCMP?
No, we're not going to get to that point yet.
Okay.
But we're almost there. So we're going to call them Canadian Border Agents. And whoever's watching from Canada, you can tell me the exact name. It changes all the time. Anyway.
The Mounties?
No, that's... sorry, we'll get to the RCMP later, guys. So what the role of the Canadian Border Patrol is to see if somebody meets the regulations, visa requirements, or whatever requirements to enter the country. They are allowed two processes. One is to, interview them prior to even going past the border. The second one is they can bring them into secondary to ask them questions on, why do they travel here? What seems to be going on? What's their intentions to, to come to Canada? Who are they visiting? Something like that. Well, here's where it gets very bizarre. On court documents that have been requested by her lawyers, they wanted a timeline on her arrest. And boy, oh boy, did they get a timeline. They got a timeline that was two government agencies, one called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and one called the Federal Bureau of Investigations in the United States, communicating before her arrest was actually happening. And basically telling the Canadian Border Patrol to delay her at best possible over a 4 or 5 hour time frame. Now, in this time frame, they managed to take her mobile devices and her computer devices. They scanned the IMEI code from the phones. They managed to request and unlock the mobile phones and the computers and connect these devices to the internet for a few minutes and then disconnect them. Now, at this point, she was still not arrested. This was happening in the secondary part. So there was also a phone call that was happened, and the government has not given any explanation for that. But as they were going through it, detail by detail, this information started to come to light that the Federal Bureau of Investigation says, look, we don't really want to be shown that we're part of this.
Yeah.
So we are talking about somebody that was taken off the plane, brought in, two agencies conspiring, knowing very well what's going on here, based on a 24-page document, which is, there's nothing really to it, finally handed over to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which so nicely they let her in the country. Thank you. And now she is then read her rights. I'm not sure, guys, if that is how the process of somebody gets arrested in this world, but this is full of holes and the more I read on this and the more I get into details on this, it gets even more bizarre. The Canadian Securities Intelligence Service put out a report last week. Why? Because they had to, not because they wanted to. This is basically our equivalent, or the equivalent to the NSA in the United States, okay? We're going to call it for what it is. Well, these guys have said, all right, yes, we're aware of this, but we didn't really want to bring this to light because it would put shockwaves around the world if anybody found out what was going on here. So that comes to light, and it gets even more bizarre from there. In fact, they don't want her or her lawyers to see the evidence they have on her. How bizarre is that, Lee?
It's unbelievable. It's just I can't get my head around it. I've got a couple of super chats in here. So first of all, Alex Tang, I felt Canada is unfairly imposed US law on Huawei's Meng, forcing China to accept Canada's independent judicial system as the reason. And the second one in from Trevor Norman, Meng Wanzhou, arrested for banking, so breaking USA sanctions, not Chinese sanctions. And I thought she was working for a Chinese company. Very valid points here. I just, I find it incredible that America have got Canada to do their dirty work on the flimsiest of evidence. Realistically, that evidence wouldn't stand up in a court of law pretty much anywhere in the world. but they've held this woman for the best part of a year and a half while this thing's sort of working its way through the court. And I just find that unbelievable. I think it really brings the Canadian system into serious question, Matt.
Everything about it seems like technicality,
sorry,
to
Alex.
be honest. Sorry, everything about the whole thing sounds pretty like based around minor technicalities and just strange stuff. Essentially, like you go back to her arrest to start. Like the first thing was the arrest, right? That was they were trading supposedly secretly through a subsidiary company which wasn't Huawei, right? And actually, they were quite open about it being part of Huawei. And I don't think technically anything they were doing was wrong, because they didn't have the sanctions against that misallowed them to trade with Iran. But what they were doing was they were trading using American dollars, and apparently American dollars, the America claims that as its property. So if they were trading with American dollars,
I think the point though, Alex, is that the Americans are trying to say that she didn't inform HSBC. This seems to be the pivot of the case, that HSBC, according to America, were not aware that they were trading with this company in Iran. Yet, Meng Wanzhou claims that it was in that PowerPoint. It was made quite clear to HSBC that they were trading with them. Yet that slide seems to have gone missing out of the evidence, which is a bit strange to me.
It's one of those details which I think was almost inevitable. Like, of course HSBC knew. Like, I don't think they could have not known. Like,
yeah,
it seemed... to say that they didn't know that it's a kind of ludicrous thing. And
yeah, absolutely.
Like with the other things, like the spying part of it, where those chips, which Nathan Ridge did a great video on this, which was or how, like, all of this supposed spying, that these chips were put into, like, the Huawei tech, essentially, to spy and pass information out, could have been stopped by a simple, like, free firewall from the internet.
Yeah, that was actually super micro. It wasn't Huawei.
And guys, I just want to jump in here. You'll see that the report on Meng's lawyers on the 23rd, it was a late disclosure. They said that, but it was also redacted. A further 6 documents related to the report disclosed June 2nd, but are also heavily redacted on national security grounds. They are providing this information to her lawyers, but saying, sorry, it's redacted. And if you want us to unredact it, we can bring in they call it a friend to the court, but then she is under no obligations to read it either. So you are telling somebody who's been charged or attempting to charge her with an indictment on, criminal charges, that, wait a minute, we're going to charge you, but we're not going to show you the evidence we got against you. In fact, most of your problem had to do with HSBC, nothing to do with the American government. And we'll throw in the Iranian transaction sanctions regulation, which no one to date has ever been charged over. And when you charge companies, and I'm going to say this with total confidence, guys, to this panel, this is, if the United States really has a problem with this lady, then you take a company, that's right, a company, and you charge the company with criminal intent, okay? Just like happened in the 2008-2009 financial crisis, which, how many bankers went to jail on this? Let's have a look at all the companies that were involved in the financial crisis. We had the following banks. Everybody probably knows these banks went down in style. We have Lehman Brothers. Anybody remember Lehman Brothers? Anybody remember HBOS from the United Kingdom? There's Merrill Lynch. National City Bank of Cleveland, done. Downey Savings, done. HSBC Financial Corporation shut down in the U.S. after this. There are over 54 financial institutions found connected to fraud in 2008 and 9, and not one single person on that board was ever convicted criminally in jail. This is an absolute outrage, and I am furious to see that my country got involved in this. We are a sovereign country. We have to, follow the rule of law, and this worries me because it's extraordinary. And what's happened is we've got some other Canadians involved in this. The other two Michaels, we'll call them, in China. That's a serious situation, and
they have been charged in the last day or so with espionage now.
I saw that this morning, actually, that story.
The Chinese government did an investigation which they concluded sort of December, January. Obviously, things have been delayed because of COVID. But yeah, I think 2 days ago or yesterday, they actually charged them with espionage. And the Chinese authorities claim they've got pretty much a mountain of evidence against them, quite a substantial amount of evidence against them. Whether that's actually the case, we won't know until that evidence comes out.
I want to read a comment. In regards to here. Are you worried about your two countrymen? At least she gets to live in her mansion in Vancouver and sees anyone she wants. Aren't you being a bit hypocritical? Listen,
that's really not the point, is it?
My point here is to talk about Huawei. We can have another show to talk about the two Michaels that are over there. That's not to show that there's no compassion for it. Yes, all this entire scenario is hurting many things. It's hurting relationships. If you want to get into details, Alan Moore, and I will get into details about this, okay? Of course I'm worried about my two countrymen. Absolutely. What can we do about it? Well, to say, an off-the-cuff comment about she lives in her condo or her mansion in Vancouver, I don't think anybody likes being isolated in their house for probably more than 2 weeks of quarantine. I think a lot of this panel knows that. Doesn't matter where you are to, be stuck in your house. She has family. She has business to conduct. We are talking about one of the largest private companies in China here. Imagine saying
she would prefer to be sitting in her office in Shenzhen.
Yes. And to say it. So, am I being hypocritical about this? No, I don't think so.
Not at
because there are a lot of people that are in this game, we'll call it. Yes, it's terrible that there's a couple of people in jail, in prison in China. It's terrible that she's in this position. But how did we get into this position is what the questions we should be asking. It's not necessarily the people that are involved. It's how on earth did we get into this position where we're holding someone like her and we're holding other gentlemen across the globe. And to add to this, sure, I'm concerned a little bit more about this because, where my family is from in Canada, a lot of the farming community have not been able to bring, canola oil and all that to the market because China is actually punishing Canada for that as well. And no one is going to benefit having this charade, guys, continue to go on and on and on and on. 2 years into this, and they're not even giving her legal team. So we can talk about the two Michaels next week or the following week after that. But it's
just to quickly touch on that, though.
Yes, please.
With all due respect, if they were spying, then why would you be worried about them? If you were spying and you got caught, then you did something wrong, and that's the end of it. It's as clear cut as that. If they were spying like they were, well, like is said, and we don't know at the moment. But if they were, then that's all on them. It's nothing to do with this. It's completely separate to try and tie this into something which is about Meng. Whatever.
Wanzhou.
But let's at least admit that there is a reason why these guys are potentially.
It was at around the same time that they were arrested.
And I think
wasn't it? A day or two later.
We have to be fair here to say that the timing of their arrest
it could be, but if we don't know, we can't say for sure. I
get your point, Alex, but we we will look at that other side when more information comes out on that. I think that is something that does need to address. We can't just say, hey, they're there and, let's all just worry about Meng. I think this whole thing put together is just an absolute disgrace on national security from, people being affected worldwide. I'm going to read you what her father said about this. And he says the following. It was quite an interesting comment. He says, Meng's father says she should be proud to be a bargaining chip between Canada and the United States. He says the experience of hardship and suffering is good for Meng, who now calls him much more than in the past, when she might not even text him for an entire year. Her father states that when Meng returns to Hawaii, hopefully on the way back. So when Meng turns to Huawei, she will keep her old job because the company would lose its competitive edge if led by someone without a strategic acumen.
He's a really wise guy, actually, Ren Zhengfei is. I've listened to some of the press conferences he did, and he's really a very sort of cool thinking guy. The way he didn't ever sort of go and say, oh, look at America, look what they've done, blah blah blah. He even praised Apple during one of his press conferences, and I think that was because previous to this happening, he was quite secretive, and he came out and did some press conferences, and he really tried to sort of calm the waters, really, rather than trying to stir things up. Unlike the other side, who were just sort of trying to stir it up more and more, he's trying to sort of calm things down a little, which I think is a good thing.
That's very much Chinese culture, though. Chinese culture is very much like that, to behave like that.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, guys, it is troubling to hear this. I mean, the Canadian families that have, whether their husbands or their brothers or their, cousins or whatever are in jail, in prison in China. It's pretty scary. And, I would be scared as a Canadian if I was sitting there being held. This is kind of political. Now, what's interesting, guys, is I want to continue to go into detail on this. You guys didn't see this in the news, but it was buried last Friday, not the one that we just passed, but the Friday before that, buried quite deep down, that the Americans have extended to do business with Huawei.
Ooh. Yeah, on the standards issue over because the Americans are worried that they won't have any partake in the setting the standards for 5G because Huawei have registered a majority of the patents covering 5G technology.
So, I mean, why didn't that get a headline, Lee?
Because
I wonder.
Yeah, I wonder. Very interesting, that one, isn't it? Yeah.
That would instantly make them look like
idiots.
They're pretty shady and pretty stupid, right? So of course they're going to bury that.
So if this was to follow, history, this types of 14 counts, in a company, normally it would be followed up by a nice big juicy fine by the Department of Justice, into the billions. But it's not here. It's not in this 24-page document. But let's say that's how it should end. And it's not going there. We continually have a lady that is fighting for her extradition. And we have Canadians sitting in prison in China. Where is this going to end? And how is this going to end? Because Canada is getting roped in now. Some of their farmers, they're being hit with this completely. I think 80% of canola was being sold to China. It's gone from 80 to 0. And it's been there for a while.
I don't think it's going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, I suspect
I think it's going to... This is a bargaining chip. And they
one at a time, guys.
Whatever they want, they're just going to keep playing it out until they either get what they want or they get beaten. It's like a game of cat and mouse, and it's just going to keep going until one of the sides is the winner. Essentially, it's as simple as that.
Depends. It'll be interesting now to see how the Canadian court rule. Now all this new evidence has come to light, and I think the USA basically a win position for the USA would be to see Huawei kind of know more. You know, there's an actual bigger picture at play here, and that involves TSMC, which are a chip fabrication plant in Taiwan. But I'm not going to get into that now. But I'm working on doing a video because there's a bigger picture here. It's all about America wanting to get their hands on technology that they don't have, and that's 5G technology and the latest chip fabrication technology, because it's all tied in together.
Espionage is nothing new, you know.
Yeah, just one other thing. Something that strikes me as pretty strange is some senior Chinese diplomats have met with Mike Pompeo in Hawaii in the last couple of days, and yet nothing's come out in the news what that meeting was about. So I think there's something, you know, kind of maybe happening there behind the scenes.
If it's not in John Bolton's book, I don't think anybody's paying attention to it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to reading that if it's coming out, but that'd be a good one.
You know, guys, like, it's not even the fact that, you know, where I think this trial is going to go with her. Ultimately, I think she's going to be let go here, or it's going to become part of some agreement. But it's the fact that they can't even get the information. When you say that the evidence that's come out, Lee, the evidence is massively redacted. Every fourth word is blocked.
It's redacted, yeah.
And you
but
can't,
even the non-redacted stuff is damning. So only God knows what's in the rest of it, you know.
And they don't want it out. So I mean, it's, guys, I'm concerned about it. What does this mean? I mean, I'm speechless on it. So I mean, I'm still amazed.
What do you reckon, Matt?
Me? Well,
yeah.
I was sleeping. Oh, I just woke up. My eyes got sleepers.
I was thinking about...
You're the only American on the panel right now, so come on.
You know, I was thinking about this last night, and when Alex, you came to me and said you wanted to talk about this in this episode, Lee gave me some links to read. I read those links, and I just don't give a shit about this issue. I am really sorry. I understand how your take on this goes, but it's wealthy people who are caught up in corrupt games and being pressured by foreign powers. It happens all the time, and we care so much about it. Meanwhile, and you had just discussed this, Alex, and I don't want to be like, there are points here. There's foreign policy. Sure. There's all sorts of issues, but I think that people are being killed. There's farmers in China that are losing their houses because of, you know, little things that we never hear about. You know, there right now in the countryside, there's some corrupt piece of shit guy that's telling some poor farmer he's got to get off his land. I'm not saying that's a big issue. I'm saying it happens everywhere. I'm just saying, like, this is, let's talk China. There's crazy stuff happening to the people's lives every day. And this rich girl is going to have billions of dollars poured into whatever solution's going to end up happening. And everybody cares about it. Meanwhile, there's real people out there with real problems, especially today with job loss and people losing their life savings and people losing family members to the virus. And I just kept reading that article and just saying, I don't care at this point in time.
It's the precedent it sets, I think, is the thing. I understand what you're saying, Matt, but you know, you've got, you know, if the USA think they can do it here, you know, will it happen again and again and again and get more and more, because the precedent is being set that, you know, where the USA can sort of get another country to detain somebody on their behalf with the flimsiest of evidence, you know, there's far worse happened than this. And they haven't managed to get an arrest on an extradition basis with much more evidence. So
I think another point that we're, you know, and Matt, I agree with you. Hell, there's a lot of world problems out there, man. I mean, I just got to walk out. I just got to walk out this door here, where I'm at, and yeah, shit is really bad. I mean, it's terrible.
I have this big gulp of empathy, and like I can only take so many sips from it, and like
she's way at the bottom of the cup, but I'm like,
I get.
there's
okay.
nothing there.
I'll try to explain it maybe in a different way, and that since it was one of the topics, and we can discuss some of the dark times on an upcoming show, but my whole overall thing here is that she is yes, of course she's a very wealthy woman, and extremely wealthy, but then you have to think about it. People who are encouraged by individuals like herself that say, wait, I would like to grow up and be a part owner or even the CEO or CFO of a major global telecom company. And just like, the recently passed away owner of Apple,
Steve.
wasn't he an icon?
Uh-huh.
Imagine if he was in jail. Can you imagine the impact of all the people that followed that company, and he was an innovator and stuff like that? Sure, yes, he's a wealthy guy, but he's been passed away for many years, but he's still an impact to people. And we just because she's worth billions, we can't just say, well, we shouldn't have any empathy for her. That's just my opinion, Matt. And all I'm saying is that she is a role model. And China's role model is sitting under house arrest. And that is the point that I want to make here, is that she's potentially could be going to prison if this indictment is correct. I think it was 195 years.
So I've got a couple of super chats I need to deal with based on this. So the first one is from Trevor Norman. And Trevor says, Huawei should stop any of their patents being used in the USA and leave them in the dark ages. And then we have another super chat from Daniel Lay. Justin Trudeau. Oh, this one for you, Alex, because I don't know too much about what's going on. Okay. Justin Trudeau fires ambassador to China after remarks on Huawei case. Fired for speaking out the truth. Is that true, or what's going on there?
Yeah, that was a while ago. It was so irrelevant that I forgot about it.
Yeah.
But no,
So,
it's actually not irrelevant. But my whole point about this, and I'm glad that we have this panel discussion and I guess it's happy birthday, Matt, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm an old man.
Is it your birthday
tomorrow,
today, mate?
tomorrow.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Damn.
Happy 29.
Happy birthday.
I think I'm 25. I think it's
25.
25.
Okay.
I
Happy
shaved.
25.
So I shaved a couple of years off.
How close to the fridge are you, and has your fridge got beers?
I'm pretty close to a stocked liquor cabinet.
Oh, well, you know what to do then.
Do you have, Matt, do you have Buy Me a Beer thing on your channel?
Buy me a beer. I wish there was a buy me a
I
beer.
gotta look into that. Some people
There's
told
a
me
buy
this
me a
fuck thing.
coffee, not buy me a beer.
Alex,
I think there
there's
is
Buy
Buy
Me
Me
a
a
Beer.
Beer, yeah.
There's
Yeah, there
Buy
is
Me a
Buy
Beer,
Me a
there's
Beer.
Buy Me a Pizza, and there's Buy Me a Coffee.
No
That's
shit.
right.
I've been doing it all wrong this whole time. I've been
Well, hey, man,
coffee.
you arrived to the show late. These are the consequences.
Damn! If that could only be buy me a baijiu, that would be even better.
Buy me a baijiu.
Buy me a baijiu.
Buy me a
Just
headache
one-
in about an hour.
Just want to say also to people that are coming into the show today, they're getting a lot of questions. Where the hell is Guelo, Kurt? Kurt.
I actually messaged him because I saw that he wasn't on the Wednesday show or this show, and I was like, "Dude, are you okay? Like, what's
Yeah,
going
no,
on?"
he's-
And he was like,
he's-
"No worries."
Yeah, he's with a film crew right now, and he's been
Jet set
cruising
lifestyle.
around the borders, and he's been. I get his messages from him basically, "Hey man, a long day of filming, going to bed, good night." So he truly wants to come back. He'll be back for, I believe it's next week's show, depending on what the format, because we might do something a little bit crazy and adventurous next weekend.
So we've got a comment here, Alex, from
Yes.
Dawei. Now, Dawei is somebody who comes into my comments often, and he's always pretty negative, but apparently we know absolutely nothing. So there's an interest.
Okay.
All four of us know absolutely nothing. So,
I have a question.
Alex, you got to learn the rules of jumping in there, young man.
Sorry.
Come back to
Too
you.
excited about that.
I'm guilty of that as well. Sorry.
Hold that thought. And guys, and people watching, you're probably saying, "Geez, this Alex guy, what a jerk to cut in." What I try to do is I really not you. I'm talking about me. What I try to do on this program is there's nothing more crazy than listening to, we'll call us talking heads. Why not? Talking over each other, and so I try to keep an orderly chat here. I'm going to come back to you, Alex, in a moment. Lee, I'm going to you to finish up what you have to say, and then we're over to you, Alex.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, this Dawei, he wants to sort of direct the conversation in his direction, but apparently we know nothing because we didn't speak about Kevin Garrett, whoever Kevin Garrett is. Not really sure about that one, but anyway, yeah. I mean, I just find it unbelievable how you can present facts to people, and they still assume that you're talking a load of rubbish. You know, these people just I find it crazy how even when you present factual information to them, they refuse to believe it. You know.
Well, the fact is, Guelo 60 is on vacation, even though people are saying, you guys have kicked him off the show.
Oh, God.
I love it. Guelo, if you're out there, show your face on here. We got to prove that you're still alive. I'm going to Alex Absolute. Alex, what's going on with you? Where are you?
Oh no, I'm just in my office at work. But no, I was actually just jumping in on that because that was a conversation. I find this quite interesting. There's a lot of people which we find in the comment sections, and I'm not saying this Dawei is one of those, but there's a lot of people that they take the opposite end of the opposite view to us, like the more anti-China view. And telling us these comments like we know nothing because and that's all very well.
Live
but,
here.
Yeah, but I mean the most important thing is here we're on the internet and you're not. So sucks to be you. But most of the time I find it interesting when people have this anti-China opinion. Yet their name is in Chinese. It's like a bizarre thing to me. I get a lot of these kind of comments. I get another guy who's very similar to this, Gundam Wing. He's always in the comments sections, and it's always these kind of questions where they try and trap you or trip you up into like saying something that they're trying to, oh look what he said, this kind of thing, and it's just not cool. Like it's just not cool. But that was it. I was just going to ask. My question was going to be: is he actually someone who's not in China but has their name in Chinese? If you are a Chinese person, I totally apologize. But
I suspect he's not in China.
I suspect lots of them are just
for
not in China.
But that's okay. I mean, guys, that's the cool thing about it. We're listening to what people got to say, whether they agree. I don't want to have a show where everybody agrees with us. That would be a bit boring.
Absolutely. But I think
I love going. I love going to my inbox and reading. So I've just done what I told Alex. I love going to my inbox this morning and saying all the comments about the massive checks I'm getting from the government of China.
We are making all that cheddar, buddy.
Yes. Some guy asked.
That's why
They said, "Truly now, how much money are you making?" And I love Matt's line. Was billions, but now it's trillions. It's trillions. It's trillions.
More
it really
than
is.
Rolling in it.
Just on the screen right now.
Super chat just came in. 3 CCP shills and one guy still on the fence, apparently.
Lee, get off the fence, Lee. Get off the fence,
on the
fence. Lee, that's the funniest laugh I've ever seen you do. So you gotta print that one comment. It's great. Well, Matt, why did you? Are we gonna get a birthday video out of you here coming up?
I hope so.
Well, tomorrow I have a episode of my travel show. I'll be interviewing Sylvie Halpern, who I've known for a long time. She's a middle-aged woman who is cycling on the same three-wheel trike as me, and she has cycled solo through Morocco, through Central America, through Colombia, through some places that I was like, and I'm pretty open to the world. Even I was like, you got to be careful over there. But she has amazing stories, and we'll be talking about her travels tomorrow morning, China time. And I have the second half of my episode where I took the family to Disneyland, and we had a typhoon in Shanghai during the time, and so that was fun. Virus and typhoon and all this jazz. But the rides that were open had very little lines, so you'll be able to watch that.
And so for all those moderators out there, if you guys can find the link, I already think Matt has the streaming link up on his channel for your show. If you could put that out to everybody, that would be appreciated, because these live travel programs are quite fun to actually watch. I mean, I was watching you had a young gentleman on there last week, really smart guy.
Oh man,
how old was he? 23 or something?
Cody is 23 years old, and he has taken the time of this virus to focus on blogging, and so he created a blog called the Overload Cyclist. Or I don't remember it. You can watch it, and he's converted it into a pretty nice income. He's making like $5,000 a month from this blog, and it sort of inspired me to like, maybe I should get on that. I should start doing that more.
I watched that show, Matt. It was really good. He's for a young guy. He's really switched on, isn't he? He's like 23, right?
Mm-hmm. Man.
It's really pretty cool.
Just to hear what comes out of his mouth is just amazing. I mean, he's. We got a nice super chat here from Nala Fish, HBD Matt. And here's some money from the CCP.
Oh,
woo! Okay, well that's very very generous. Are
we gonna be sharing that around, seeing as we're all shilling here?
No. That goes to Matt for the happy 25th birthday.
You know what? I didn't even realize that came directly to me. I'm like,
you got it, Matt.
Oh, that's me.
You have quite a few. You have one from Mary M that says happy birthday.
Hey, thank you, Mary.
And she donated $24.99 to you, and that was very nice of her. So just want to get back
now
here.
Clarified, she said I was just being sarcastic, just to let you know. Thank you, that one.
So Wesley, if you could put Matt's travel show, that would be great. I'm going to go on to Lee, and then I'm going to be with you in a moment there, Alex. And Alex, I do appreciate you coming on to the show because you have quite the busy schedule. And a big happy birthday to Matt. And looks like you're going to have quite the day with all your CCP money there. Going on to Lee. Lee, you and I have been organizing a little bit here, some stuff coming up in my favorite, not necessarily my only favorite, but one gem in China there, the city of Chongqing. Tell us what you're going to get up to. I know you got a busy weekend first. Let's hear it.
So, okay, let me just run through what we've got coming as sort of order. So tomorrow morning, me and Ollie have got our sort of live stream. And I've got a feeling, although I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure Jerry is on our stream tomorrow. I'm pretty sure Oliver sorted out with Jerry to be on the stream tomorrow. So we've got that. On Monday, we've got our video coming out that we did at the Roger Moore factory. Now, that's not Roger Moore. It's Roger Moore, which translates into meeting bread, but it does sound a bit like Roger Moore, you know, the James Bond guy, but it's not. And then on Monday, sort of lunchtime, we leave to fly to Shanghai. We're in Shanghai for 2 or 3 days. And then after that, we leave and we arrive in the super city of Chongqing, which I'm super excited about. And Alex, along with the guys from Chongqing Media, have got a full schedule of all sorts of cool stuff for us to do. We're going to be in hot springs. We're going to be zip wiring. We're going to be going to factories. We're going to be looking at culture there. So we're going to have a kind of busy sort of 7 to 10 days up in Chongqing. So I think by the time we get back, we're going to need a good rest.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it all. It's all going on.
Thanks for that, Lee. And don't forget, everybody, to subscribe to all these channels. All the links are below. So if you could do that. Wesley, we have a request. If you could put up the QR code for WeChat Pay, that would be great. Donations. Alex Absolute, I know that you just put out a video here. I think it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yesterday, yes, I put out a video doing some film photography because I do like my photography as well as making videos, and I thought, what better way to kind of do something new, because like we all use digital products all the time, and it's super easy, and it's made me super lazy. And then to use an old Holga 120N, which is a medium format film camera, which it presents all sorts of problems that you get from using digital stuff. For example, I took 2 pictures and realized afterwards, because the lens cap, because you're not looking directly through the lens like with a digital camera. On my Sony, if I have the lens cap on, you can't see anything, and you're like, oh, whoops. I took 2 pictures and then realized afterwards I had the lens cap on. So great to that one.
Yeah,
but,
that was quite funny, Matt.
That was kind of fun, and it just shows. Also, that video just shows that how you don't really need all of this tech, because actually I'd been so focused on going out, and I'd packed and made sure about all of the film camera, I forgot any cameras to actually film the vlog. So I filmed all of it just with my iPhone 11 with no accessories, just held out in front of me, and kind of just used what I had there and then. And it turned out quite well, actually. I've got quite a lot of like positive comments and people saying, see, look, it's still pretty good. So yeah, testament to it's not what you have, it's how you use things, which does things. And I've got a new idea for a new thing as well, which I'm going to trial next week. It's going to be called Twik This Week in China. I'm going to try a kind of commentary channel style video where I find funny, hilarious things and maybe a few more serious things that have happened in the last 7 days, put it all into a video and have like a commentary style thing about it.
Great.
I'm going to see. That might be interesting. I've already found some hilarious videos, and I'm going to touch on something which is kind of serious, which was this massive explosion that happened like not very far from here in Wanzhou in Wanzhou.
The tanker.
Yeah, the tanker. That was absolutely insane. Like an explosion so big that you see a tanker fly across like the sky like it's a toy is it was pretty bad. There's a lot of lives lost. But I thought it'd be a mixture of funny and kind of serious news. So we're gonna try that I'm gonna try that in the next week. I just need to kind of like write a script for it, I guess. Make it kind of more focused, not my usual like that I do when I'm just out and about.
Well, thank you for that, Alex. And just so you guys know, we are going to probably try something interesting next weekend. We're going to call it the Streets of China. And we're going to give it a go. We don't know if this is going to be able to be pulled off, but what we're going to try to do is we have Wesley, we'll call it our studio manager in the back that takes care of the show and makes sure that it runs smooth for us. And this is China Jerry. He also has Jack that's going to be assisting Wesley next weekend. We're going to try this, guys, okay? This is going to be a little bit difficult, but they're going to be hosting the show, and the other people that are part of the show are going to be live streaming out in the streets, whether it's in Shanghai
Chongqing.
or Chongqing, or whether it's in, it could be Alex Absolute's city. And of course, I'm going to try to get into the action, but I'm going to get out to the largest Chinatown in Southeast Asia, which is in Bangkok here. Until I get back to China, I got to be part of the theme here. So we're going to be in the streets, and we're going to start off slow, but then as the day goes on, each of us are going to have a wing man or a wing woman with us. My wife's going to be with me here, and we're going to be going on the streets, and we're going to be listening and reading your comments as we're streaming from 4 different cities to you guys. And Wesley and Jack are going to try to keep it under control. And you can pretty much, say what you'd like us to try. If you want us to try some food or try certain types of drinks, or even go into some wholesale markets, who knows? I have no idea what we're going to get up to, but it could be quite interesting, and it's going to be quite fun, and we will do our best. Now, there might be hiccups. We're going to try. If it's great, it's great. So that's it, and that covers what we're going to be up to next weekend as well, and you should tune in for it, because it's going to be pretty funny, actually, to see all you other guys walking around in other cities. from my channel, I have a couple more videos coming out on Chongqing, of course, and I'm gearing up to another series. I'm not going to even give you a hint about it. I'm going to make that a surprise. So, thank you everybody for all your super chats and for your WeChat donations, and very nice donations to Matt for his birthday, which is great.
Nice one.
On a Matt related subject.
Just to tune you guys up, I'm coming up to my 50th here in the next 10 days.
Whoa.
No way.
I don't believe
Yes.
that.
You're a third of the way through.
I'm already past there. just going on in my chat at the moment. They're all trying to work out who the one is who's sitting on the fence. There's some sort of
Me too.
different
Same.
of opinions here. So I've got a couple thinking it could be Matt. It might be Alex. It's apparently definitely not me. I thought I was right on the fence as well.
We should make it like a guessing game. Whoever's right next week will pick one lucky commenter.
Let's ask Matt. Who do you think it is? Who's on the fence here, Matt?
It's certainly not me. I think it's Alex Absolute. It's definitely Alex Absolute.
Alex, do you think it's you?
It could be me. I don't think it is me for my own feelings, but for everybody else's feelings, it could be me. Sure. Maybe people think that.
Yeah, I guess no, I don't know. I'm labelled as pro-Chinese. I think it's mad. You know, as soon as you sort of try to point out positive things to combat any negative, you know, I have people putting comments like, "Oh, you're not free in China. You can't go out and shout, you know, about Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that." But why would I even want to? You know, it's like,
you know what, guys? You know who I think? I think it could be Wesley.
Maybe the silent unspoken.
I think it's what. Yeah. And no one has seen. You know what, guys? We are definitely going to bring Wesley on one of these shows. Okay?
Yeah,
I think we should for sure.
Is he on camera? Can we say hi to Wesley? Can we bring him on and say hi?
Can we bring him on? Wesley, you want to come on?
Wesley, are you there?
Are you okay with it?
Say hi.
He's saying one.
Show us that beautiful green screen.
Wesley, are you going to come in?
I've got.
There he is. There he is. Wesley,
he's in NASA.
Say hi to everybody. Wesley, say hi to everybody.
What's at NASA?
I've been happy to be here. I've been so blessed to be here for the past over 2 months now in the back end, keeping everybody on point, telling you your mic suck, and Lee, I don't know your camera drunk, man. You have the drunkest camera I've ever seen.
We love your camera.
Get back to sorting flight control out, Wesley.
Anyway, Wesley, we greatly appreciate you helping us out with this program. And the navigational stuff for next week is going to be so hard that I don't know, guys. And I hope you tune in for that. And Matt, where are you going to, one more time, where are you going to celebrate your birthday again?
I don't know. On the floor.
Annie on the floor. No, Annie will take me somewhere. I'll eat more food and I'll get more fat. So it's a never ending.
Can I just say one thing with regards to Matt's channel as well? If there's ever anybody out there who's feeling a little bit sad, a little bit angry, and just wants to be happy again, go and watch Matt's videos, like the Disney one or any of the ones with his daughter in it. They are just the nicest videos, like most heartwarming videos ever. They just make you go, the whole way through.
She is. So do you want me to get her out here? Do you want me to see?
Yeah. Do it. She's so lovely.
Well, she was talking about her dinosaur in the back of the car on the way to Disney. She didn't know you were filming her, right? And then all of a sudden she realized the camera was on her and she's like, that was so good.
He's doing that, guys.
The seat and got in the front and was like, no, I'm going to sit in the front till Mummy gets back.
He's doing that. No, he'll be back. He's doing that. Alex Absolute, your best impersonation of anybody on the panel or off the panel of the group of the Chinese vloggers that you know. Go ahead, your best impersonation.
Welcome to another video from JaYoe 60.
That's not bad. That's not bad. But you realize Kurt is from the same area of Canada as I'm from, and it's like, here's how it goes. Welcome back to another edition of JaYoe 60. That's how you got to do it. Now, okay, Barrett, Lee, best impersonation of anybody?
That's just the way it is. It's so funny when he's talking. He gets stuck for what to say. He goes, "It's just one of those things."
I digress. Or you could do the Matt. You could do the Matt impersonation.
What's my impersonation?
Matt's good at impersonations.
Actually, Matt is very good. I'm gonna do one impersonation, and then I'm handing it over to Matt. Okay, you guys ready for it? Welcome back to the Barrett channel. Okay, Matt, go ahead. Matt is classic.
I gotta get in the frame of mind.
He's good.
I'm wearing earphones. Shit! I can't do it. I'm mixing them all up. I can't. I'm blocked up on.
Not even Aguelo.
I'm trying to do his Canada. They don't have sidewalks in Canada. They don't too many homeless in Canada. There's this one quote that he said. He's like, I'm walking through the. He was being interviewed in his documentary. If you guys haven't seen that documentary, you should watch it. It's kind of funny.
It's fantastic.
It's interesting.
It's great.
Yeah,
but he's walking through a park, and he's like, I'm walking through the park here, and the one thing I don't see anybody. There's no homeless here in China. In Canada, you walk around. There's just homeless everywhere. They're piled in the corner in the street. In Canada, it's just homeless people everywhere. But here in China, there's like no homeless people at all.
Cute. We miss you, Guelo. Get your butt back on this show because we need you on this show. If it's not going to be next weekend, because I'm not sure if you're up for the Amazing Race style of the show next weekend, but Kurt, we need you back on this show. Karen Shen, nice super chat. Happy birthday, Matt. More home videos, please. Corrupted, $100 donation to you, Matt. Cheers, guys. Ava videos are amazing. She always cheers me up. Somebody asked me if I'm an ass kisser. I'm talking about the party, not about Matt. I'm talking about the party, not about Matt. Anyway, yeah. Well, good. Maybe they were talking about me talking about Meng. I mean, thinking that I wanted to get higher up in Huawei. Since we're all connected to the government here.
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, that is a great, fun, very fun program today. We talked about some pretty serious stuff, and at the end there, we got some. Well, it looks like somebody's going to have one heck of a party with their super chat donations. So, congratulations to Matt for that. And hey, we're going to be back here doing it again. We'll try to get the Wednesday show out. That's tentative on what the Barretts are doing. We'll make something happen on Wednesday for the China chat, the kind of light version of the weekend one that we have here. Let's Talk China. Guys, it's been a blast today. I've had real good fun, and I'm going to wish everybody a great weekend, a good evening, or a good morning, wherever you are in the world. And do not forget, we are your voice. And if there's anything you need, visit any of these channels. Thanks for This Is China, for Jerry coming on earlier today, as well, holding that spot for Alex Absolute, who is full of energy today.
I felt so bad because he looked so sleepy.
Well, you're very energized today, maybe a bit too energized. But the beautiful thing is, guys, I'm trying to be the best host I can for you to keep everybody in line and not talking over everyone.
Thanks,
I did it. I was guilty of it today too. So the cool thing is, guys, don't forget to check in with us. We have a blast doing this for you. We are your voice. If you need to get in touch with us, drop us a comment. I know all the people on this panel pretty much read every single one of the comments, even if they're bashing. It makes for great comical reading on a Saturday morning. Trust me, it does. We look forward to it. So that's it for us at Let's Talk China. And Wesley, you can take us out of here.
JaYoe, guys.
Take care.